Hello again, everybody, and welcome to week 2 of Unfiltered with Wonderful Machine. We'll be interviewing one of our member photographers today. Kate Thornton out of Charleston, South Carolina, is the photographer we're spotlighting this afternoon. I want to thank everybody again for joining in for week number 2. We had a great conversation with Abigail Bobo last week out of Nashville, Tennessee. We talked about her trip to Iceland, and we talked about different things that she's been doing during quarantine. This week we'll get to various photographic things regarding Kate and her career, but we're also going to be talking about what it's like for her to homeschool her 2 kids. So we got different aspects going on here, and Kate is about to hop on and have her join us to become, well, a homeschooling teacher, as well as what it's been like to get to reconnect with her neighbors and to photograph them. Kate, how are we doing? Hello there.
Hey, I'm doing good.
Hi. Nice to see you again, and just telling the people, giving them a little introduction. We'll be talking about some photography stuff and some non-photography stuff as well. But to start, just how has everything been the last couple of weeks for you and your family as you get adjusted?
It's been good. We've had so I live in Charleston, South Carolina. So
Mm-hmm.
we've actually had really beautiful weather. And then I have 3 kids, 3 little girls. So it's kind of been nice to slow down and hang out with them. I have a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old little girl, and then I also have a 6-month-old as well.
Oh, fantastic. So definitely keeping busy. And yeah, I guess it's one of those things, it's like a blessing in disguise, right? You have so much time now and you can spend a lot of it with them, especially as they're at this point in their lives. And are they ever like wondering, you know, how much of an idea do they have of like what all's going on and what's their like perspective on it?
Well, I think I'm a pretty laid back, positive person. So, I mean, we're kind of laid back about it. And I mean, with the baby, we are a little bit germophobic. So they haven't gotten to play with their friends only from 6 feet away. So that's starting to wear on them. And as adults, we'll have like happy hour in the front yard and sit 6 feet away, but we won't really bring our kids, or they'll be inside on their iPad or something, because the kids really can't social distance. So I'll go on walks with girlfriends. And sometimes they'll ride their bikes with friends, but it's harder for them to social distance. So you really have to watch them.
Right, right,
They're,
right.
they're missing the social aspect more than anything.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And we'll talk about those neighbors. You've worked with them recently and sort of worked with them over the years. But kind of to start, Kate, why don't you tell us about your background in terms of education and then how you get started in this field and how it's gotten you to where you are today?
Yeah, certainly. So I went to the College of Charleston. I'm from Virginia originally, and came down to the College of Charleston in 1996. So that ages me. I'm in my 40s. But I was always visual. I wanted to be an interior designer or something, and I just kind of fell into photography maybe junior year. And then after that, I lived in St. Thomas for a little while and photographed weddings there. But really, my goal was to be a staff photographer in a newspaper. I ended up doing that in Richmond, Virginia, my hometown. I worked for a small daily newspaper called the Progress Index, and I worked there for 2 or 3 years and was a daily staff photographer. And then just decided I missed the beach and wanted to be back in warm weather, and moved back to Charleston a little over 15 years ago and started my own commercial photography. And then I kind of just fell into wedding business. And I've been doing probably 70% weddings and 30% commercial over the past 10, 13 years. And then the past 5 years, I really worked to flip that. So now I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing more commercial than wedding. And then I also do family portraits, which I still love the family portraits. I love to drive out to the beach um, at sunset and spend an hour or so with families running around. And the editing's not too bad because it's all the same lighting. So it's a pretty quick edit. And I just enjoy that.
That's awesome. Yeah, so many things to dig into there. I have a journalism background as well. I'm curious, with wanting to be a staff photographer and to do that earlier in your career, what kind of skills do you think you develop and generate as you do that specific line of photography work? And how has that helped as you've done other parts or gone through other parts of the field?
Gosh, I feel like that was my graduate school. Just learning how to go to a middle school gym and stop and photograph a basketball game and that awful yellow light and stopping the ball so it's not blurry. I mean, that's just and photographing every day so much. So that's really what taught me photography more than anything. And then just storytelling aspect. So when I'm on a commercial job, photographing like branding photography or a wedding, I'm always looking for, and even family portraits, I'm looking for small moments with, let's say, kids on the beach holding seashells or doing a pirouette in the sand just because they're bored and it's in between shoots. Like I'm always looking for those in between shots. I'm always looking for those in between moments that kind of speak to me, and I say, oh, that's kind of cool. And I love to tell the big picture. So I love to back up and get the big scene as well as the small picture and then a small detail picture and then look for those candid moments in the middle.
Yeah, definitely a lot of skills to be learned, and I love the way that you put it, calling it the graduate school, and you get the reps and you get all those different opportunities, and I'm sure it's certainly helped. And we'll talk more about your photography career as it's gone along, but I want to transition really quickly to something that's really interested me. I've wanted to ask you this since we set this interview up, but one of the main aspects of this pandemic is millions of adults have become teachers, and they've had to become schooling teachers for their kids. So two questions. Number one, what's that been like for you? And number two, how much more respect do you have for teachers who actually do this every day?
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I was trying to teach my 8-year-old division yesterday, and it was just dividing like 12 by 4 and just explaining that. It's not my strong suit, but everything's online now. They're working in Google Classroom. So we have a lot of breaks. I call them explore time, where they can just run around and do whatever. As long as they're not in front of a device, they can just go explore, I say, which is normally them running around on their bikes out in front of the house or swinging on a tree or something.
Gotcha.
So we have a lot of breaks.
Definitely. Yeah. That's good, especially with the way the weather has been. I'm sure they want to get outside. I'm sure they want to be out there just being active and not only taking those breaks, that recess, if you will, but just making sure that they're not only getting mental exercise, but physical exercise as well. So it sounds like you guys are striking that balance.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm almost going to be prison buff when this is done. I'm doing a workout about 4 times a week, and then I either go on a bike ride or a walk just to stay mentally fresh. So I feel like everybody says they're gaining weight. I'm definitely not eating great, but I feel like I'm exercising more. And I see like my neighbors that I've never seen out before, like going on a walk. And I'm like, wow, I've lived here for 5 years and I've never seen you go on a walk before. Like, that's awesome. And you see the strangest people walking down the street right now. It's funny. So anyways, I feel like we're going to beat diabetes or something. I think people are going to be healthy.
Yeah, right. You get that I guess you repurpose the phrase and call it a quarantine 15 now, and you're trying to like work that off and make sure that doesn't come along. But that's fantastic to hear. Good that you have the opportunity to do that, and kids can run around and go biking. And are they out biking right now?
They are. My husband's out biking with them, and then we're lucky enough to have a swimming pool, so they'll probably go swimming after that. But yeah, they bike up to the park every day and go run around. They're not allowed on the playground equipment, but they run around in the trees, and they've built their own tree swings out of a stick and a rope, and they have vines that they swing on. So they're very curious, imaginative little girls.
Very cool. And with if you can't go on a playground, you got to be resourceful, right? You have to make sure that you find your way toward fun. So I guess that allows them to think, hey, what else can we do to make sure that we're having fun? So that's really cool to hear, and I'm glad that everything seems to be going smoothly on that front. But yeah, is there a subject in particular that you enjoy teaching to them?
Oh gosh, I really enjoying history. So my 3rd grader is studying South Carolina history and the Civil War and the Revolutionary War and like the 13th Amendment versus the 14th Amendment. And I mean, I didn't really pay attention back in elementary school about what all that was. And it's fascinating. I mean, it happened all around Charleston. I wish we could go to some of the historic sites, but that's not going to happen for a while. But I think it's just fascinating actually learning it and being able to like process it, where when I was, 8 and learning it, I don't think I really paid attention. I just took a test and then forgot it.
Yep. Yep. That sounds about right. But obviously, you've found your way to a very successful career and a very fulfilling one, of course. So let's talk about what you've been up to, both client-based work and then personal projects during quarantine. So we'll start with the client-based work. What has it been like just kind of staying on top of the ball there? Not only are you teaching, but you're also keeping your career going. So what has it been like finding work and trying to do so?
Yeah, certainly. I think a marketing spaces that I feel comfortable in are definitely Instagram and then MailChimp.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've sent out maybe 2 MailChimps during the quarantine, just like tips, stuff to do with your kids at home or online learning resources. And then I think I promoted my porch portraits, like, oh, look what I did for my family portrait clients. And I hope you're doing well, or I can't remember what the subject was. It was a little while ago. I need to do a third one to commercial clients, letting them know that I'm photographing now, and letting them know what my safety practices are as far as wearing a safe face mask and shooting from a distance, and kind of talking to them about that. So that's something I probably should be working on. But I've been busy with 3 children. This morning, I'll be honest, I actually didn't homeschool. The kids just kind of entertained themselves outside, and I had some client calls. So I was on the phone for about an hour and a half, just talking to some clients about different things. So I feel like I'm starting to get some inquiries. I think people have been, they're ready to act. They've been thinking about things, and they've been improving themselves online, and through maybe online courses, and now they're ready to put themselves out there. So I've had a few different inquiries about business portraits mainly.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. And so we'll get into that a little bit, but I'm curious as to when you talk to these clients, and at this point you have to talk about the safety part of it. You have to have that aspect in the conversation. Do you think that's going to be a thing for not only for the foreseeable future, but like moving forward as you talk to clients? Do you feel like you're always going to need some sort of safety aspect in there because of this, or is that going to go by the wayside at some point?
I mean, hopefully it will go by the wayside at some point. I think maybe not till fall 2021, but yeah, I was talking to an interior designer this morning that wanted me to come to her house, and she didn't seem to have any concern with me coming to her house, or we didn't even talk safety. She was just excited to, I don't want to say spill her guts, but she was just excited to get all this stuff that she had on her mind. Like, I really want to improve my website this way, and I want you to photograph my artist studio in my home, and I want to switch out. And I was just listening to her, taking it all in, but she didn't mention safety at all. I'm a little concerned. I'm definitely going to, bring a face mask and wash my hands a lot, but she didn't seem concerned. And then I was talking to a banking client earlier this week. I think it's a bank that wanted a picture of a banker with a small business that they had loaned money to.
Mm-hmm.
And the small business owner said, I don't even feel comfortable standing next to a banker outside of the bank. So I think people have different tolerances. So I'm going to go photograph her outside of her shop, and then the banker outside of the bank, and they'll just have to put them together where normally they would use them in the same frame. Because she did not feel comfortable near the banker, which is reasonable. It's against the law. So that makes sense. So I think people just have different tolerances, and when they bring it up, and it's also on the forefront of my website about safety, my commercial photography site. I think I put a line in there on the announcement bar, but I need to write a blog post about it, and I just haven't had time.
Right. Well, it's good that you mentioned the website, because that's another thing we'll get into, is the fact that you have 2 different ones, capturedbykate.com and then katethorntonphotography.com, and there's reasons that you have those 2, and so we'll certainly dive into that, and we'll take a look at Kate's work kind of throughout this conversation, so you can definitely show the people that as you turn your camera around. So that client-based work sounds like it's coming in nicely, which is good. And then obviously your background, Kate, is in wedding photography, or that's a big part of that. And you recently completed a personal project going back to those old wedding clients, you kind of did that porch project, getting photography of those people. So what was it like reconnecting with old clients as we see some of those images from that work?
Yeah, I'll go through the porch portraits first, just because I had them pulled up. So, I mean, everybody's doing porch portraits. It's not like a super inventive idea or anything. We actually had a retired guy in our neighborhood that was coming around and doing porch portraits for free.
Mm-hmm.
There's my kids. I brought my kids with me, but anyways, I'll go into that. This is kind of what my idea was for a porch portrait. So at first I wasn't even thinking about doing them. I was like, oh, that's great. Let's go support this guy. And he came and took our porch portrait, and it was kind of fun. He took it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The light was horrible. But yeah, it was just nice to break up the day, honestly, and do something creative. And we all were silly in the picture. I wasn't planning on doing them. And then spring break rolled around, and I was like, how am I going to entertain my children? And I miss connecting with people. And I think, everybody was doing these free porch portraits. And I thought, well, instead of doing my neighborhood, because that's already been done, why don't I connect with my old family portrait and wedding clients? Because I've been photographing them for the past 15 years. So a lot of these people are celebrating their 10, 12, 13th anniversary. And we do see each other out because I was married 13 years ago. So we have a lot in common as far as the ages of our kids and what we're doing, but we don't. And we're also friends on Instagram, but we haven't, actually connected one-on-one outside of Instagram. And I just thought it would be a good opportunity so I sent out a email I decided to do it all on Facebook, because Facebook is a medium I never pay attention to. I just don't have time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I should build up my Facebook community and let people know that I'm a photographer versus just like a mom on there. So I contacted them through Facebook and said, hey, I'm doing free porch portraits. Anybody who's been a client for the past, over my career in Charleston, that means you, couple that got married 15 years ago, please give me a call or send me an IM, and I'd be happy to come to your house if you live in Charleston and photograph your porch portrait. So not all of these people lived in my neighborhood. They were kind of all over Charleston, but that gave me an opportunity to get out and get my kids out of the house. And I spent about 10 minutes photographing and about 15 minutes socializing. And
Gotcha.
The kids were sitting on top of the car, hanging out. And they brought some stuffed animals and some books. And I just said originality is encouraged. And some people did original pictures like this is what we're doing during our quarantine, home improvement, painting. And then they did like a real one that they would maybe frame. So I just thought it was kind of a fun idea, a good way to connect with them again. And then I actually posted them on Facebook first and then put them in a gallery for them to download for free. So it was just a good way. And then I tagged them all. So it was just a good way to get myself out there on Facebook, where I really hadn't used that medium in a few years just because timing. I don't have time to focus on it.
Yeah, and that's great too, because with all this extra time that we all have, it allows you to not only connect with these people, but to use these different mediums, and maybe down the line you go back and you use it again. And so it's just another way for you to get this great work out there. You can view Kate's work on capturedbykate.com, Kate Thornton photography.com as well. She's a Charleston, South Carolina based photographer, and we're talking about the mix of client-based work and the personal work as well. And Kate, one thing I really like that you said when you sent me responses to my questions about this work is that everybody looks really casual. They're not wearing like a bunch of fancy get-ups. They're just like wearing what they'd wear around the house, and there's like natural, organic, just relaxed nature to these pictures. And I like that you pointed that out, because I went back and looked at them under that perspective, and it's definitely true.
Yeah, well, these people dressed up a little bit, but let's see. This family was nice and casual, and I felt like it was for a family portrait. Everybody will wear matching outfits, or they'll get their hair done, and there's no opportunity to do that. So it was just like, I feel like it was more real. It was more which speaks to me as a photographer. I love real, candid moments. So I, was looking for the in between. Of course, I think I got probably a stage like everybody look at the camera and smile, and then this little boy's wild. I just, I wanted to show how wild he was, and look at this sweet little girl with her tiptoes. So I just, I feel like it was more their, like what they do as a family, and it just spoke to me as more real than a real family portrait.
Right, right. And you mentioned in the answer, like, oh, these might not be ones that they'll hang on their mantle. I totally think they're going to hang these on their mantle. I mean,
Yeah, I think they're going to enjoy these.
adorable and precious. And as you said, everybody likes free photos. So this high quality work coming their way, it must have been a nice boost for them. And it must have been great to reconnect with them as well. That dog, by the way, that husky is a beautiful, beautiful dog. Yeah, right there.
These are some wedding clients.
Yeah.
And they owned a house at the beach. So then we got to go play at the beach after that. So that was nice.
Oh, very nice. So what's the radius, or how far have you guys had to travel for the furthest you've gone? And then are there anybody that's like right next door?
Yeah, the people with the cute little puppy, they live in our neighborhood, and I photographed their wedding, I think 12 years ago. And our kids, we met up again in breastfeeding class. So our kids are like 2 days apart, and they go to school together. I'll look for them again. Oh, here we go. Oh. She's 2 days younger than my oldest child.
Oh, wow.
And they had just gotten the most adorable little puppy. So I photographed their wedding at a big golf resort 12 years ago, I think. Mm-hmm. And they live in our neighborhood, and it was just neat to reconnect with them again. Well, I guess we had reconnected because our children are the same age and go to school together, but yeah, it was nice. And there was some people that I hadn't seen in over 10 years. So it was great to connect with them as well. The couple with the American flag, they were living in a different part of the state and just moved back to Charleston about a year ago. So as far as distance, we didn't travel that far. I mean, the kids, we couldn't stop to go to the bathroom. So
oh, right.
I scheduled them about a half an hour, 45 minutes apart, and we were probably out, and we did like 3 portraits a day over spring break. So it was just a good way to get out of the house. We walked around their neighborhoods just to walk around a different neighborhood. And the kids sat on top of the car and were silly, and I, sat out and talked to them after the portrait and just caught up. So it was a great way to get out and socialize, as well as do a little marketing.
Yeah, definitely knocking out a couple of different things there. And as I look at these pictures, I think, man, that weather looks really good. I wish I was down there, although the weather up here in Philly is phenomenal the last couple of days. So at the very side. There we go. I was just saying, the weather in the pictures looks amazing, like spring break days.
It is.
So really, really happy that you guys got the opportunity to get outside and to talk about these folks again, the old wedding clients. You said that in the more recent part of your career, you've transitioned from retail to commercial photography, and we did a piece, Wonderful Machine, with one of our staffers, Honor Brown. You talked with her and just about what it was like to go from the retail side of things to the commercial side of things. So thank you for contributing to that. That's on our website, that piece. And then what was it like just making the transition?
So here's my wedding website. Well, I already had a little bit of a foot in the door as far as commercial photography, but just, let's see. I really, I think I've noticed my weaknesses, and I know my weaknesses are, well, at first I had the sites combined where I had commercial photography on my wedding website. And I think I sought out some business advice. I can't remember from who. Maybe it was Wonderful Machine, about separating the two of those, because I knew that needed to be done. So I think they advised that I get a completely different commercial website than wedding website. So I worked on that, and then I realized that I'm not a great editor because I'm too attached to my work. So then I had Wonderful Machine do a edit for me for my portfolio on my commercial side. And then from there, I have just been working on, I think I did a mastermind on sales and marketing. And originally I was reaching out to local clients, and then that kind of taught me that local clients aren't really where I need to be reaching out. I need to be reaching out more nationally. So then I think that's what perked my interest in joining Wonderful Machine to be, I guess, represented by you guys. And I learned, I think, a lot of learning as far as the mastermind. I learned also that I'm kind of a perfectionist and I just need to get things out there. And 100% is bad and 70% is good. On Thursday, actually, I'm going to start working with a business coach for my commercial photography, because I feel like I still am not exactly where I want to be with commercial photography. So I'm just constantly working on self-development, I guess, right now. And I also did a lot of, and this is my commercial site. I also did a lot of personal projects to build the commercial site and to build the images that I wanted.
Very nice. Yeah. This one is KateThorntonPhotography.com. The other one was capturedbykate.com. So those are the two different ones. And I love that quote that you mentioned, the 70%, 100%, you know, because at a certain point, like as you said, you get really attached to your work, but there has to be kind of this tipping point where you're like, okay, I have good work here and I need to keep it moving and keep it moving forward. So, but that's tough. You know, you get really, really attached to work that you put a lot of work into. And so has that been one of the tougher parts, you think, of making that transition, or how do you find that you've been doing with regards to that?
Is regards to making the transition from, can you say it one more time?
In terms like the business coach said, 70% is good, 100% is bad. And then yeah,
I would respond to that. I've been using interns. I think when I about 5 years ago, I kind of looked into it like, oh, maybe I should use an intern. And another thing I did to switch over is I hired an assistant. So she would come like 2 or 3 days a week, and she would just do all of my wedding stuff. I would have her do my wedding Instagram and wedding blog posts. And she was 23 and just graduated from college and excited to do it. And I just focused on my commercial business. I also haven't put any money into my wedding photography business in the past probably 3 or 4 years. I just keep up an Instagram presence, and I come up pretty high in Google when you search. And I'd send out some MailChimps. So I had her work on those kinds of things. And I just, gave her, I guess, a little bit more freedom than I felt comfortable in the past. And then she left me about a year and a half ago. And then I just ended up meeting somebody at an American Society of Media Photographers event, which I'm involved in. And it was a professor at a local college. And he said, I have some great people that would love to intern for you. And in the past, I just heard bad things about interns, but I was like, you know what, that the assistant worked out so well, and I'd rather not hire somebody. So if you want to have somebody that would do it for free, that would be amazing. And I interviewed some people, and I've had 3 interns over the past year, and they've all been phenomenal. And I think everybody has gifts, and I just kind of, I guess, interviewed them and said, are you a strong writer, or are you really good technically, or what are your strong suits, and what are you interested in working on and learning? And I think they've learned a lot from me, because I'm really open. I'm an open book. So I think they got a lot out of it, and I got a lot out of working with them. And then, of course, I'd bring them to commercial shoots to help with lighting and carrying equipment and whatnot. So that actually worked out really well.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that gives you just so much more time and mental space to focus on the very specific things you need. Because, like, you're running a business, you have so many different things that you have to worry about. And so the number of things that you don't have to worry about, like, it's just such a relief, I'm sure, to be able to knock some things off, especially when you have quality people that are going to get the job done there. So that's a good experience, especially if you go in with a little apprehension with regards to, you never know how well they're going to do,
Right, right. And, I would definitely check over things, but for the most part, nobody reads Instagram captions anyways. It really, as long as there's something there that's pretty happy and it's all good. It doesn't have to be perfect. Not everybody has to be tagged. It's going to be okay.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, Kate, this has been a phenomenal conversation. We learned so much just about different aspects of your career, your life, and what you've been doing to keep busy. Are there any big things that you've kind of noticed, either within the photography world, within your work, or just within your family life that you'd want to share from these last couple of months of being in quarantine?
Gosh. I've just learned to, well, it's tough because I'm definitely a hustler. I've owned my own business, my own photography business for almost 20 years now. So I'm used to constantly working. So it was hard to slow down a little bit. But again, I have a 6-month-old. So I've just so enjoyed this time with her. With the older girls, I was just so busy with photography that they had to go straight into daycare at, 8 weeks or so. And I mean, not full time, but I've just really enjoyed family, and we've gotten on TikTok because
Okay.
I will not let technology pass me by. So now I'm an over 40 mom on TikTok. So that's been fun. We've been doing some really stupid TikTok videos just to keep ourselves entertained. And I think just to be, I guess, I'm not really sure, but we're just having fun. So
Good, good. Staying busy, having fun, and that's fantastic. Once again, this is Kate Thornton, Charleston, South Carolina based. Kate, this video will be on our YouTube page, and we'll also put it on the Wonderful Machine site. We'll get it uploaded within the next, hopefully within the next 24 hours, and so you'll have it, we'll have it. And this has been terrific. And also look for a piece on Kate's porch project that'll be coming on our blog soon. And Kate, thank you so much again for coming on. This was a lot of fun. And I hope you and your family continue to stay active. And I hope everything goes well on the client side of things. It sounds like you are still getting good work and continuing to talk to clients. That's great to hear.
yeah, thanks. Well, happy Cinco de Mayo, and thank you for adjusting the time for me.
You got
This
it.
is quieter time at noon rather than 2. So thank you for that.
I was half expecting the door to open and then a bunch of like pitter patter footsteps to like run in, and it's like, okay, it's
Yeah.
time
My
for
husband's used to me being on business calls, so he's good at wrangling them outside.
good. Well, Kate, thank you again for your time. We'll definitely be in touch. And folks, next week, 2 o'clock, we'll usually do 2 o'clock, but noon this time around. And Kate, thank you. It was a pleasure again.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks, Varun. Take care.